Thank you guys. Welcome, everyone. This is the first TED Talk of the Consumer Day, which actually I would guarantee that maybe everyone in here was like, it's not going to be busy, but it is busy. Everyone was I think it's going to be crazy last night, and I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know about that one. Second day of a weed event, usually fucking dead. But it's been a great event so far. I'm really looking forward to getting to chat with Anna and hopefully teach you guys some things that you don't already know. So unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know about the brand of my guest, but I don't think that she's given the spotlight enough. Even though you guys kill it, I don't think you get to do shit like this as much as maybe some of your peers that aren't killing it as much. And I think I didn't want to go too far into the woman thing because like it's not really my thing to talk about. But I do think it's because you're a woman. But I want to congratulate you. You know, you crush, you dominate the boys out here. So it's cool. But funny story of how we met. I was in this Chevron out here, and I was getting probably my usual, which is a yerb, and some candy, and some water. And Anna walks in, but I didn't know. I had never met her before. And the girl, she pulls up in a Maserati, just walks in, gives me a big hug, and leaves. And I'm like, what the fuck?
I was so starstruck. I was like, oh, it's Ted from AlienLabs.
But that doesn't happen to me. So I was like, what the fuck? And then like maybe 2 weeks later, I'm at the grow, and she walks in. And come to find out, anyway, like that was the first time she'd ever been to a California grow. Is that right?
Yeah.
And it was our 88th Street grow, which is, really the first big legal grow. It was built in 2014. Many contractors were made there that have gone on to build everyone's fucking grows. Really the blueprint of a lot of grows in California. So that's where it was. We were in talks with her to do some stuff with her. And so, cool. Anna, welcome. Thank you for joining me. I know you have a hell of a story to tell, so tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey. Where are you from?
My name is Anna Willey, and I'm the CEO and founder of CAM. I was born in India and grew up mostly in New York City. From Indian immigrants, we moved around a lot, so spent a year in Ohio, spent a year in Minnesota, but mostly in New York City.
India, that's insane. Like, you're from India and you're a woman and you're crushing the weed game. Like, that is so unique and cool. And I like I said, I don't think very many people know that about you. So, whoa, shit, sorry. Have you been back to India since you've been growing?
Absolutely not. No. Not that there's anything wrong with India. I have not been. It's still pretty illegal in India.
Yeah, for sure. I figured.
I think that, there's some great strains that have come out of India, but I have not been.
Like what?
Hindu Kush.
Oh yeah, okay. What's cannabis like out there? Like they can't consume too much flower. I know what's the bong.
It's bong. Yeah, bong. Yeah.
Tell them what that is if they don't know.
So it's still grown kind of on the hillside and mountaintops. I think the majority of cannabis in India is similar to Thailand, where it's imported in from Europe.
Yeah.
But hasn't really taken off because they haven't changed the rules. I think their main thing is that they are allowed to cultivate industrial hemp. So a lot of the industrial hemp comes out of there.
Oh, wow.
A lot of the cocoa that we use comes out of India as well.
Like the good cocoa or the chocolate?
The grow cocoa.
Oh,
yes,
cocoa. Yeah, that's right.
As a medium, yes.
That's really cool. I love learning about cannabis culture in other countries. That's something that like really interests me. Even other states, but other countries for sure is just it's insane. I hope to be able to do more of that. When did you first smoke weed?
I first smoked weed when I was 13. Just like most people, from a 6th grade friend. Our older brother brought it to us.
Always an older friend.
It's always the older friend.
For sure.
The one thing for me that was a little different, I think most people, when they first smoke cannabis, they say they didn't get high.
Yeah.
I definitely got high.
I didn't get high the first time.
Yeah, most people. But for me, I definitely got high. And I immediately liked the feeling that I had, even though I knew it wasn't the best product. And then I would say 3 or 4 years later is when I kind of started smoking like endo, right?
Yeah.
Hydro. There's a huge difference between something that you got in the hood that was a dime bag, right?
It was like green bud.
It was green bud. Endo, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's called Endo there.
Yeah.
That's regional. Another thing I really like is like regional slang, and it's so funny how everything calls someone something different wherever they're from. So yeah, for me in Northern California, it was green bud. That was like the first thing that came after Mex. You know, we call that shit Mex. But yeah, everyone has an older friend. No joke. Mine was the same thing. He offered it up to us, but we had to get him the money. And, you know, he went and bought it from a guy. No joke. His name was Adolf. This is insane. He was in high school, so maybe he was like 6. I was in 7th grade, so he was maybe a junior. Not the older friend, but the Adolf. And I just thought that was, now that I think about it, I'm like, holy shit, your fucking parents named you Adolf. But it was an eighth of Mexican brickweed. And all I got was a headache. But a couple of my friends did get high, and basically it was just on from then. Did you keep smoking, or did you quit, or how did your like evolution of smoking begin? After you smoked at 13, did you just keep going?
I kept smoking mainly because I didn't like alcohol. So a lot of my friends, a lot of my friends got into alcohol. I would go to like the high school parties and kind of hold like a Corona because I really didn't like drinking, and still continued to smoke.
My mom was a bartender, so all my friends would come over every Friday when she was at work, and we get high and play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. And then one of my friends told us that we could drink the bong water, and we did, and that was a lie. So what's the first? Do you remember the first name strain that you smoked? I know we called it like Dro, Hydro, Indo, Green Bud, but what was the first name strain that you smoked?
Well, in New York, everything was sour diesel.
Oh, that's
Whether
right, yeah.
it was Blue Dream Depths or it was BC Bud, everything was sour diesel. So
I have a theory that sour diesel actually doesn't even exist.
Yeah, it just.
Because everyone.
And then East Coast sour diesel. I mean, it's just yes.
Yeah, like when you see it, like people are like, "This is the real sour diesel." And I know one of my homies from New York grew. He moved to Reading, where I'm from, and he grew sour diesel, and I remember it, but it didn't smell like diesel. It was like. It was more of like a moldy bread smell. It was more on the sour side, you know? And I think sometimes that when New Yorkers and East Coasters talk about sour diesel, what they're actually talking about is OG Kush. Because that is diesel. That's fuel. OG was diesel and fuel, you know? And I've talked to people about this, and like, you know, people I know shit. And I think that's becoming a lot of people's prevailing theory. For me, my first name strain was Afgoo, but I also remember an insane batch of Northern Lights No. 5 that got me so high. I was looking at my friend, and all of his facial features were moving around on his face. Like, his eyes were going to where his nose were, and it was like a psychedelic fucking high, which is really weird. But I was in, like, I was a sophomore, so, like, I was still relatively new to smoking, and I think that was just the most powerful weed I'd ever smoked, you know, until that point, so... One thing I did want to call out and ask before we really get started is your position as a woman leading a big brand in California. So first of all, I just thank you. I have a daughter. She wants to work in weed when she grows up. And I envision people like you, Wendy from Space Gems, Maya from Own Medicinals. You guys are putting in the work that will allow her to be able to do this in a way that isn't just me being like, yeah, this is my daughter, bro. She's going to work wherever the fuck she wants. So I just wanted to thank you for that. I love that.
Thank you.
And you really are leading the charge on the cannabis side. You know, there's a few other women operators I know, like Erin from Royal Key Organics, but not a lot as far as cultivators are concerned. What's that like? I mean, I feel like you've overcome it a lot, so maybe your experience is different than some other women that are still like building. But what is there anything that sticks out to you that like, damn, this like sucks, or you know, anything that's positive about it?
I gotta say that all of my mentors in cannabis have been men, and
yeah, it's a boys' club.
And they've not only been great mentors, but they continue to support me. So I know that folks are always talking about women having a really difficult time into their journey in cannabis, but mine has been really, really super supportive. And the way that we kind of do it at CAM is we're building teams that it's not about, you know, men, women. I think it's just people learning to enjoy working together. You know, for me, it's building a place where people like coming to every day. So
yeah, I mean,
and learning and gaining a skill set, and whether they're with Cam, or they can come back and look at it and say, wow, those were some of the best years. I had a really good time building that company. And if they're still with us, then, we have a
But
lot of day one. So
you guys do have a lot of female employees.
yeah, we have a
though,
lot
right?
of, yeah. We have 189 employees, and I would say about 25%. So I think
That's
that,
really cool.
I think that's relatively, it's on the high end of having amazing women. And we have Michelle.
Yeah,
we
you
have,
guys give yourselves a round of applause for sure.
Yes.
I made a tweet yesterday.
Misa, Alex, Jolena, and my just forever, Kiara. Thank you.
Oh my God,
So,
you
yeah.
say that with such love and admiration. I love that. I made a tweet yesterday that said, you know what, if you got girls with their boobs out at your booth, you're done. Just close up shop. And someone said, yeah, like Cam. And I said, fuck no, not like Cam. Like Cam, you guys represent women in like a classy, not that showing your boobs isn't classy, like don't get me wrong, but you guys really represent it in like a classy way, and your team of females like put in fucking work. So I think that's really cool. All right, let's get into this. So let's talk Cam.
Woo!
What led you to starting Cam?
Well, it used to be Colorado Alternative Medicine. I mean, in 2009, I'd been growing for a couple of years by then, and once Colorado kind of started having some stores pop up, people were basically being able to sell their homegrown. I had a couple houses going. I still worked my full-time job as a software engineer.
Oh, wow.
For the first entire year as we were launching Cam in Colorado. And the main goal was to always come out to California.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, because we always knew the best weed in the world came from California.
It always has and always will.
I would say that was the driving force, is to grow the best weed and have the best weed, grow different strains, have people, be able to smoke your weed and say, this is great product. I think
Yep.
that's what the reason why I launched Cam. But what keeps me going every day is really the people.
Definitely.
And providing jobs and watching people go from one part of the company to another, people buying homes. I mean, just it's great. It's great to see people grow and grow with the company, and then even better, seeing folks that have left Cam and gone on to do great things as well, and we celebrate that too. So,
Yeah, I love that too.
I love that.
It's funny. Caleb and I were talking about this, and like everyone talks a lot about the culture, and how like bigger companies, you have how many employees did you say?
189.
We have like 380 or something too. Like people kind of think that when you get to that size that you lose the culture, right? And brands like us and you and there's a few others, they buck that trend. But I do think it's very interesting because when people say that, I'm like, yo, who the fuck do you guys think buys the weed from the smaller people? I'll give you a hint. It's our employees, because we pay them well and they have money to invest in the culture. So I think that's really cool and interesting. If we didn't work out, what would you be doing?
Well, I usually don't like to have a plan B, but
Yeah, I do.
Probably back in software.
Yeah, what kind of software?
I love CRMs, ERPs. I love business intelligence reporting. I like taking things apart and putting it back together again.
That's really cool.
So,
Shout out to
yeah.
Sharif, man. Trees, they get money.
Yeah, they do. They do a good job.
How many lights do you guys have in total?
In Sacramento, we have a 500 light facility, which is where the majority of Cam's cannabis comes from. And then we have a 2,000 light facility that just came on about a year ago.
Wow, how's that upgrade been? Not really an upgrade, but, scale up.
Well, I have my amazing partner, Josh. He can tell you all about it. I will say that scaling from a 500 lighter to a 2,000 light facility it's completely different.
Yep.
And you really have to watch the QC. You have to create a lot of different processes that you don't have when you're harvesting every 9 days versus when you're harvesting every 2.5 days. I think that you also building a culture from scratch and still trying to become an efficient, because that's more like a factory, right?
Yeah. With 2,000, efficiency becomes
becomes very important.
Yeah.
Because you have a power bill that's basically
Yeah,
the
no
same as like a
shit.
house in Detroit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Every month. How's your 2,000 lights set up? Like, do you have 20, 100 light rooms, or what's that?
We have exactly that. We have 2,000 light rooms. On the north side, we have 105 lights in every room. On the south side, we have 112 lights in every room. We have 2 LED lights, 2 LED rooms that we're
Nice.
learning how to cultivate in.
What fixtures are you guys using?
We're still in HVS.
No, I mean for the LED rooms.
Fos
Oh yeah,
and Phillips.
I bet the Fos is out here, but we've tried literally every single LED.
I love you, chat.
We tried every single LED. Fos was cool. They were a little too red for us. That was causing extra stretch. And eventually we've settled on the Gavitas, which, they're kind of doing a 1-to-1 HPS. And Gavita's got our start, too. So we're developing a light with Gavita that will be very good for everyone. So what type of cultivation method do you guys use?
I've done them all.
I love that.
I've done
What'd you settle
hydrogen. We're settling for Cam. We're settling into cocoa and using house and garden, kind of going back into our roots. We definitely also do 4-inch cubes on slabs and do rock wool. I think that you have to be.
Oh yeah, both.
Yes, you have to be an expert cultivator to run rock wool because there's really very little margin for error. And I think that if you're just continuously, I think you can grow great cannabis in any medium.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that there's people killing it in all sorts of different mediums. And I think that there's also poorly grown cannabis in all of those mediums as well. So, but it really is a batch to batch experience.
Yeah. I think what changes a lot per the medium is the way you get high. Like for me, rock wool gives me a very peaky high. I'm high for 10, 15 minutes, but I'm pretty high. And cocoa gives me a more level and thorough and kind of long high. And then soil gives me the longest effect. So I think that's cool about soil. And I think when people say outdoor makes, gets me the highest or whatever, that's actually what they mean is that the soil did. What were some other methods that you tried that didn't work?
Well, we definitely used hydrogen did not work. So
No,
when we
never
came
did.
out here, and it took me, I was in hydrogen for 10 years, but we didn't have heavy metal testing at that time. So we came here, I'm still washing rocks. That was a joke, can't get on off the rock. But that definitely did not work. I've always wanted to try living soil, but it kind of scared me because it has a year and a half of building an ecosystem.
Yeah.
Those are a couple ones that probably
I think
didn't
living
work out
soil
that
is
fast.
actually a little more forgiving. People don't realize this, but since you have the food web, that those plants are getting what they need from that, so you don't actually have to give it to them every time like you do in some of the other mediums. So while it is harder to set up, I think it's easier to get quality out of living soil when you are set up. So it's a different dynamic, with cocoa or with rock wool especially, even though I think overall rock wool is easier because of the fact that the cleanup and everything like that is so easy. You don't have dirt. You just throw those rock wool cubes away and they go rot forever because they don't degrade in a landfill somewhere.
My last year in Colorado, we did Tupper.
Tupper.
Yep.
I remember doing Tupper.
Yep.
That shit was crazy. You guys have a ton of strains. Have you found that some of your cultivation methods work best for the rock wool or the cocoa side of your grows?
I think the main thing we're trying to get to is having enough cultivation space where we can just have 1 or 2 strains in a room. Right now, we still have 6, 7, 8 strains in a room, and I think that that's really difficult for any cultivation team to manage from an irrigation standpoint, to manage from, obviously we're trying to grow a lot of OGs again. They don't like light. They don't like water. They really don't like anything.
They don't like to be around other plants
they're
either.
Racist. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, racist.
Yeah.
That's funny as fuck. I think OG is a very classic example of this. When you put it in its own room, it grows way better. Plants release pheromones and all the same things that humans do, so there is something to be said about that. But yeah, we place OGs in their own rooms, and we have much better results with them than when you put them next to gelato, which really doesn't make sense. You could do the exact same fucking thing, even though they don't like as much light. You can give them the same light in a different room and they still will grow better. So yeah, that's really interesting. How do you guys select strains? What do you guys have a breeding program or?
We do not have a breeding program. I think that we're probably a year or two out. I think that if you are going to have a breeding program, you need to have its own space to actually
For
do
sure.
that, and have a lot of R&D. We have a nursery license in the 2000 Light facility, so I think that we try out a lot of different strains. I think, you look at market trends, and interestingly enough, we've gone back to growing a lot of the older stuff. A lot of these older strains have been tissue cultured, so being able to get tissue cultured
Make them
some
a
of the
little more
OGs,
vigorous.
a little, not too much.
Yeah, it doesn't really work like
it
that.
doesn't
People
really
say
work
it
like
does, but
that.
it
It
doesn't.
doesn't really work like that. And then we still have like our old cuts of Face Off and
Yeah, that's
Hell's
cool.
Angels and SFB and Kosher.
The Hell's
and
Angels is a good cut.
That was a good cut. 92, good cut.
My boy
Biodiesel.
Sean has like all the OG cuts, so we've been going through a bunch of them. We've been doing a trial with OG for fucking going on 2 years now because like it just really doesn't grow that good under current facility conditions. Like everyone's grows are they're pretty much the fucking same, and OG just doesn't really come out like it used to. There's a guy over at the Anwar booth. His name is Jew Green, but it's with an U, not a W. So, and he grows in a tent, obviously. Great, he's a great grower, and he uses LEDs. That's the other thing. I think OG really thrives under LEDs, which goes back to not liking light and all the same shit. The intensity of the light really is what it is. But OG was grown, selected, maintained for years under air-cooled, single-ended
600s.
600 watt high pressure sodiums, and they just really haven't been able to make the transition where you still keep that gassy, like burn your nostril smell. They all come out a little earthy, and they're still good, but I haven't dropped one yet because even though like we came up off OG, that was like the thing that we came up off of, Mars OG and then Lemon Fuel. We haven't put out an OG, so we've been doing the trials and just trying every single different temp differential. Fucking went back and ran House and Garden. We did Canna. We did, the MP Cali. We've tried every single thing for OGs. It's just not coming out great for us. But we finally kind of nailed two, which one is the Ghost, and then the other is the Larry that I sourced recently. So those will come out from us soon. But yeah, I love OGs. I love smoking OGs. How often do you find something that you sourced or just whatever you've had that doesn't pass the THC percentage challenge? As in, hey, this shit is fire, but it's 20% THC and no one's going to buy it.
That's literally been the last 5 years. So
Yeah.
the first 2 years, I think, when I was in the California market, we were growing a lot of stuff at the 18 to 21% range. It was a tough start for Anna here in California. And then you'd have folks that were growing GMO and everything, you know.
Wedding cake.
A lot of wedding cake, a lot of GMO. But then we realized that we're not going to be able to educate the consumer fast enough. So we basically put a lot of those strains in stasis. So those strains still sit in stasis. I think that there's a great market for them as we go into these other states, because a lot of the testing in the other states are somewhere between 19 and 26.
Yeah, it's already low.
It's already low, and I think that we can bring back some of those strains and just the lineage of those.
Yeah.
Maybe, and then wait for folks. I think it's changing. I mean, I always say that, but then I walk into a store and
it is. I believe it's changing too.
I do think so. I think more people are, as the testing becomes kind of acclimated and it's kind of the same all over the United States, you'll finally have people that are like, when's the packaging date? But more importantly, which companies are putting the cultivation date?
Yeah, cultivation date's huge.
And educating your amazing bud tenders and your retail staff when you're doing these educations, and talking to them about we're trying to educate the customer on THC.
Yeah, it's tough to educate the customer. We've been doing this a little bit. I just dropped a strain that was 18% THC, but I had to go on my social medias and cry and say, please buy this.
Please buy it.
But they did,
Please.
though, and they loved it, and it was great. It was great weed. But I think, everyone says that. We need to educate. We need to talk about talk to the consumers about it. But actually what we need to do is just put our money where our mouth is. Like, fuck the 25% threshold that I have, fuck the one that you have. Let's just all the big dogs just start dropping shit that's fucking 18%. You know what I mean? And just
Yeah,
that's what we have to do. Like
or
education
just
has
do,
not worked.
Just do 2, right? Do 2 out of your 12.
Yeah, not like everything, but
Yeah,
just like
but
drop
do
some shit that's low and
2
be
out
like,
of the
try it.
out of the 12, and then just know that you're gonna take an L, but you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, but you might not though,
You might, and you
especially
might
for a
not.
company like you or
Yeah.
me. You know, we have fan bases that will buy whatever the fuck we put out. But I know, like anything, we test every single pheno. If it's not above 25%, I really don't even look at. I look at it, of course, but I don't look at it to release, because it's not just the customers, it's the buyers too. You know, they'll look at a menu and say, hey, this shit is not above 30%. Like, I'm not gonna buy it.
And the testing is batch to batch.
And the testing is bullshit anyways,
Yes, exactly.
You can't look at. I've seen 40% testing. Like, are you telling me that this nug right here is 40 fucking percent THC? No shot, dude. There's no way.
Yeah, we had a gastropop, I think, a couple years ago. That was like a 52%. I was embarrassed because
That
that
is
means that there's
embarrassing.
more THC than there was weed, and I'm
there's
like,
no
oh,
weed.
guys,
That literally just
let's
cannot
not
happen.
add the 10% on this. But you know, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine.
That's funny. What are some of your favorite strains that you cultivate, but also that outside of what you guys cultivate?
I love, just like every girl, love Skittles, but we don't grow too many of
I
those.
thought you were going to say Blue Dream. You know,
yeah.
girls actually do love Blue Dream.
I do love Blue Dream. And we're coming out with some Blue Dream. But
Nice, I
Skittles
love
crosses are difficult. I think that, you take 1,000 cuts, you're going to end up with 200.
Yeah.
It's a 49-day strain. They're not the most attractive strains, but I think finally people are okay with growing some ugly shit again. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah,
'Cause
they are.
Some of the best smoking strains are really unattractive.
Not
like,
some of them.
We're going headband again, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, oh God, I hope this goes. Cause it's
Every
just,
single good smoking strain is ugly.
Is ugly.
Yeah,
exactly.
the prettiness. I think what happens is that resinous fucking frosty shit just doesn't allow it to burn all the way through. So you get like a slightly darker ash, and people are just like off that, you know. I've found the same things pretty much. We actually have developed. We did under canopy LEDs. We had them for 2 years before we started showing them to people. Now, as you know, every single grow in the entire fucking world has them. But similarly, we have developed a method of growing shit like Skittles that makes it much easier. In a year and a half, we'll tell you guys, just like we often do, because it is a good it's a good. There's not a lot of like real trade secrets in the industry. Like, come on, bro, we've been doing this shit, we know. But this one's good. I'll tell you off stage.
Okay. Secrets.
Yeah.
But even all the trade secrets, I would say that's the part that I love about just cannabis in general, is that even when folks are trying to, don't tell folks, I think that growers and companies that are thriving are talking to each other all the time. I mean, I think
definitely.
A couple years ago, some folks were using Arroyo, and it kind of spelled like, just like wildfire of gathering data, getting your dry backs, being able to really share that knowledge. And even today, there's so many different types of irrigation programs out there.
Grow
so
tech is evolved.
It's
crazy.
evolving like every month. So I think that's exciting.
Do you guys have scales in your tables?
Sensors?
No, scales.
I don't know.
In our newest grow, we have scales in each of the tables. So when it gets to a certain dryback level, it will automatically kick on. So it's constantly weighing it. And then when it gets to a certain weight, that's indicating that it's dry, and it'll hit it with the shit. So that's some new tech
takes care
that's
of the
really
runoff.
nice.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. Seems like you guys have just been everywhere in the last year or two. Is that kind of the marketing strategy, just mind share, everywhere you guys are, or are there some other things that you guys do that you think is super effective? Give the crowd some secret sauce.
Well, my secret sauce is like right in the crowd, which is Brendan is our president of sales, and Ricky's our VP of marketing, and our amazing marketing and brand ambassador team. I think
you have a great team, so shout out to you guys.
The best thing about our strategy is just integrating with the retailers and other cannabis companies, and the relationships are authentic. So kind of making sure that these folks are finding people in these stores and building those relationships, whether through sales, it's through BA support. I know that a lot of times, especially when it's gotten kind of grindy and tough, people usually marketing is the first one that they cut. Or if the brand goes really well, they're like, okay, well, we don't need those relationships, but I still think all of sales and marketing is relationship based. So those just people keeping those relationships, whether they're with Cam or as you can see, we continue to find people that have those relationships and pay them accordingly to keep
Yeah,
up.
the key word I heard you say in there is authenticity, and I believe that the authentic brands, especially from California, will win in the long run. I don't imagine that some of these brands that just come in and spend money, I don't care if you build the sickest team ever, if you're not authentic, if you're not transparent, it's not going to work. So I think we've seen that play out so many times. Like, how many MSOs are still in California?
Very few.
None.
Yeah. It's really hard to compete with people that are doing it the right way.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. What are some brands that inspire you? Give me 2 outside the industry and 2 within the industry, and don't say AlienLabs.
Connected.
Oh, true.
I mean, there's so many that, from a mentorship perspective, everyone's doing something super unique. I think that 710 does a really
Love
good
710.
job. I think
Skelly is he's insane. I got a chance to work with him recently on a clothing collab that we're doing. And, when I get on a call with some, to do a collab, like, it's my creatives that are like, yeah, we're fucking doing this, or it's me, whatever it is. But I got on with him, and he's like, I prepared all this shit. Here's a mood board. Fucking here's all the images I want you to do. And we're like, oh, wow, this is insane. Hella easy. So I 710 is one that also inspires me.
they're also one of the people that we're going to drop 12%, and it's
they
fine.
don't care.
Yeah, they literally don't care.
No,
12%,
literally. That is, I saw
it.
17% from
Yes,
them,
I
Candy
love
Chrome,
it.
and I was
Yeah.
like, fucking, I'm doing the 18.
I know,
then.
exactly.
So those guys have really, they're good. They're good guys, good trailblazers. Who else?
Kalia does a great job.
I love Kalia.
Love Mark. Love Joe.
Mark's a good guy.
And then outside of the cannabis industry, I would say Porsche, because I love cars.
Sick brand, love them.
Okay, and I think that they've never really kind of altered from their mission. It's also one of the few car companies that I like to emulate because they actually gain value. So I'm hoping that Cam ages well. I think there's a lot of cannabis brands right now that just kind of come and go.
Yep.
They try it out. They're like, okay, well, we're not making money here. We're going to go back to doing trap, or however that works. So for me, I look at these brands outside of cannabis, and I think you've talked a lot about this, which is like, let's have different types of people from different industries come into cannabis.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Kind of
In the
give
right
us a
way.
in the right way. So, and I know that building your teams, kind of like the way Porsche does, and the second one outside of cannabis probably would be Aloe. It's yoga.
Yep.
It's the product is clean. It's chic.
Yeah, they do a good job.
They do a
I
great
agree.
job. Yeah.
For me, I like Nike. I think they really do a good job. 710 Labs, you nailed it. And I like Herman Miller. They do office chairs and shit, but they're sick, super sick. All right, we got 5 minutes, so I'm gonna actually skip this next one, even though I wanted to know this the most. So I'm just gonna. All right, so I really just wanted to reiterate how badass it is that you, as a female, come in and dominate these boys. My daughter, she says she wants to work with me since she was 2 years old, and when her teachers or whatever ask what I do, she says, I can't tell you, which is hella funny. And I want her to be able to do whatever she wants without the barriers that exist in this industry that is famously known as a boys club. I try and do everything I can to support women in this industry in the right way. And that includes, they said, hey, who do you want to talk to? And I said, fucking Anna, I love her, but also, she has a great story to tell. So I think we all agree that there's a lot of shit that we should have left behind, but we still see tons of the stuff I talked about earlier at Hall of Flowers. So, thank you for Brooklyn and all the other girls that are going to grow up and want to do weed shit, and they will have you as just an incredible example.
Thank you.
Let's give Anna a round of applause, and thank you guys so
Thanks,
much
everybody.
for coming. Don't leave. First of all, I got 2 things. We need to take a picture of you guys, but also will you take a picture? You? Sorry. I'm high as fuck, and on acid, so it is what it is.
You're doing great.